Breaking news as Subway issues a dire warning on the state of the economy and calls an emergency meeting with the owners of 19,000 different locations. Absolutely crazy. And so today we're going to go over that and the current state of the retail apocalypse. And then we'll end by looking at rumors of a potential harbor strike in Philadelphia, the Philadelphia ports, and what supply disruptions that may mean. I have our community hero, seasoned developer, and quantitative financing expert, Mitch Vexler, with us today. Mitch, happy Friday, brother. Anything exciting going on in the markets?
Well, coincidentally, I was just looking at gold a few seconds ago, and it's at an all-time high at 25.37. And based on the numbers we've run with a volatility at 19, which is where it is, the calls are trading greater than equidistant over the puts, which means it's got pressure to the upside. And that's really because the foreign central banks are massive, massive buyers. So gold will end up trading somewhere between 3,015 and 2,052 over the next 12 months, but the pressure is clearly to the upside.
We have some new all-time highs with gold. What I'm going to do right now, Mitch, is I'm going to jump into the Subway. Zero Hedge, dated August 15th. Subway calls emergency meeting with franchisees as fast food value wars potentially claim first casualty. This is absolutely crazy, guys. And remember, QSR. QSR stands for Quick Service Restaurants, and they're locked into a fierce value war offering, and this is important to understand the state of the consumer, cash-strapped consumers $5 meals or better bargains to maintain their market share. Remember, discretionary income is super important. Roughly 70% of GDP is from consumer spending. Most consumers, over half, are living paycheck to paycheck. So the state of the economy is important, and what happens to discretionary retail shops like this is important. Now, this battle for value has intensified, guys, as the QSR executives recognize that low and mid-tier households, because we're all hit, have been financially squeezed. Now, this says by the Biden-Harris economy, I'm not trying to get political, with elevated inflation, high interest rates, depleted savings, and maxed out credit cards, consumers are in rough shape. Now, this is interesting because it points out that the first QSR to launch a $5 meal was McDonald's, followed by Burger King, and KFC is on the way. Now, a couple interesting things, guys, about Subway. Subway has called a hasty meeting with franchisees of its, get this, 19,000. That's a lot of mom and pop shops and just shops in general. 19,000 North American sandwich shops as they grapple with faltering sales and profits. This conference is essential, they say, to discuss the state of the industry. Now, this goes on to say that sales are down in recent weeks 5 to 10%. And sales are as low as 2012, but back in 2012, it was 5 times more profitable. Mitch Vexler, what does that tell us about the shape of the consumer and the dependence on the economy on consumer spending?
Well, a couple of things. As we've been saying in this series of videos, it really is about mom and pop being able to afford to put food on the table and to keep a roof over their head. And what you just read in that very first paragraph outlines 80% of what we've been saying, which is that 37% of the households, be it multifamily or single family households, are going to go bankrupt and or they're going to lose the roof over their head. The idea that these restaurants, KFC, Subway, that's a race to the bottom. And restaurants have to make money in order to stay in business. They have to make money in order to keep those employees. If they chase to the bottom, they will not be able to keep their employees and they will not be able to stay in business. And in fact, that is what you are seeing with 4,000 restaurant closures in California alone. So these things are all connected at the hip. If mom and pop have a decision to make, well, do I forego medicine or do I pay my real estate tax, which is fraudulently created by the CADs? There's a real problem. Same thing can be said if mom and pop can't put food on the table and have to make a decision, food, i.e. the chase to the bottom in the QSR facilities, then that decision is food or roof over our head. And as I keep saying and pounding the table, there's no more money. And that's why what we're doing with putting this series of videos together is to get people on board and take what we're doing national, because this affects everybody. There's 144 million homes that this is touching, every single person, regardless of a $300,000 home or a $2 million home. It's all connected. If you've got one area and 30,000 houses hit the market all at the same time, what do you think is going to happen to the values in that neighborhood?
Speaking of sticking together, it seems one thing that has stuck together is the retail apocalypse, Mitch. Now, I want to read a little bit of this, and maybe, again, you can break it down. Again, from Zero Hedge, guys, this was August 14th, titled, "A Retail Apocalypse is Gaining Momentum All Over America. Is Your Favorite Chain Closing Stores?" This was a big hit, Mitch, when you sent this to me. And by the way, Mitch sent me all of this stuff. Big hit to me because, there's some stores on here that I forgot about. But really, I want to read this because I want to ask the question, Mitch, is, this going to intensify? Now, this goes, why are retailers closing thousands of stores if the U.S. economy is in good shape? Of course, the truth is that the U.S. economy is not in good shape at all. The cost of living crisis is absolutely crushing working families all over the nation, and the U.S. consumers simply don't have as much discretionary income as they once did. Obviously. Now, needless to say, our retailers are highly dependent on that discretionary income. And so this article expects, as the U.S. economy slows down, it expects these retailers going out of business to intensify. Now, when we go down here, a couple key things that this is mentioning. The retail industry is going through rough times as it copes. Again, this is the key thing here, inflation-wary consumers. We are already in recession. We're just waiting on the top elite 1% to catch up. And a rash of bankruptcies prompting chains to announce the closures of almost, as Mitch was mentioning, 3,200 brick and mortar stores since 2024. Now, this article mentions, Mitch, that's data from May 13th. They're saying since the time of that story, and they go on to list multiple nationwide store chain closures. Here's one right here. This is Big Lots, multiple store closures there. Obviously, Conn's. I made a video on Conn's, a 157-year-old business. There's drugstore chains are getting hurt right now. Rite Aid, as you guys can see, filed bankruptcy. They're planning on closing 780 stores. And also Dollar Tree went bankrupt, closing 1,000 stores, losing $1.7 billion in the fourth quarter. Mitch, can you tell the viewers and share your opinion on whether or not you believe that the retail apocalypse and stores closing down will intensify? And if you can, what does that look like? What, is there going to be strip centers completely out of business? What is that going to look like for America?
The big malls are going to be in much worse condition this go around than they were in 2008, 2009. The retail strips, they'll end up with 30 to 40% vacancy. The problem is that what will vacate won't necessarily be the mom and pops that can afford the rent, but in fact, the big boxes. And replacing a tenant in a big box, you're in my world, and that's extraordinarily difficult. So the reality is that those properties will be devalued, very similar to what happens in the office market, where you simply can't get the tenants in. So the devaluation will occur. I want to back up for 1 second. The retail report that came out a couple days ago, which this story mimics, is only half the story. When they're saying, well, there's 3,200 store closures, the retail report does not include restaurants. That's 3,200 store closures, plus just in California alone, 4,000 restaurants. So when you understand the math under the hood, there's nothing healthy here. And any story that you read in any or hear on any mainstream media press is a straight up fabrication. It's not backed by the numbers. You can go down the street in your local neighborhood, which we do, and you can literally count the amount of vacancies. And we're in a fairly affluent area here. And there happens to be a Walmart, very nice retail center, not too far from where we are. And right now today, they're pushing 20%. So that Walmart, what I would call big box, all the small stores around it, they're empty. And this is a fairly affluent area. In other words, your question was, what do you see? Well, In the famous words of Clubber Lang, pain.
And Mitch, I'll move on to the next story here and we'll, end this out. There may be more pain on the way from other areas I didn't even consider, not just discretionary income. I want to get in now to the potential strikes in Philly. Thank you for sending this to me, Mitch. This was sent August 14th. Potential strike at ports in Philly and other East Coast cities already scrambling supply chain. This is not good. This says Philadelphia's port workers and thousands of others on the East and Gulf Coast could strike as soon as October, a move that is already beginning to muck up the nation's supply chain. Now, this is interesting because this pertains, you guys, this is one of the largest maritime unions in North America. It is the largest. They represent about 85,000 members. That's absolutely insane. There's already a lot of pressure, obviously, with the ports, the ongoing turmoil in the Red Sea. This is already wreaking havoc on the supply chain. This article points out that the risk of, strike isn't too high. Certainly a strike would be a major issue. Do you think that that's just to distract us? Do you think that they'll really strike? And can you explain to the viewers what impact a strike would have with retailers, and would that cost be passed on to consumers?
Yes, the cost will be passed on to consumers because the consumers won't be able to get what they want, which is you have a push demand issue, and then you have a supply demand issue. The fact of the matter is that nobody knows if a strike will occur, but I want to remind everybody that Ronald Reagan took over the air traffic controllers when they pulled a strike because it would have had the probability of tipping the economy into a depression. And you've got the exact same thing because this isn't just an American problem. You have to realize that goods come in from other countries. So if there's a strike, those goods end up sitting in the ports of other countries and or not being made. So now we're back to the word cumulative. Well, you've got a cumulative problem here. If those ports close, it backs up into foreign countries. Well, the reality is that those people who want to strike, whether they're justified or not, isn't the issue. The question is, what's the tipping point that is going to throw us into a depression? And that, as I've said in a prior video, 2 videos back, there will be a tipping point. Nobody knows what it is. But if there is that type of strike and that lasts for an extended period of time, that may very well be the tipping point because goods are simply frozen. People have bought stuff, those orders can't be filled. And right now, today, as you know, the supply chain is, I wouldn't call it quite crippled, but it's pretty close.
Mitch, from the bottom of my heart, man, I really appreciate your time. And if you can, I just want to explain to the viewers that, you're very successful. You're taking your time to explain these issues. And I want to give you the chance, if I can, Mitch, can you just give the viewers kind of a closing statement on your progress with the fight for fraud and why it's important for every American and every viewer to share the video and to stand up? Can you please just share a little bit about that, sir?
There's roughly 140 million single-family homes in the United States. And what we're getting in now, emails from across the United States, Ohio, California, Michigan, Florida, and this issue of the fraudulently created values at the hands of central appraisal districts who do not adhere to USPAP and do not do appraisals under any definition in law affects literally 140 million plus single family homes, plus multifamily renters, et cetera, et cetera. So the reason we're doing this is asking people through this series of videos to please take the link to these videos, and Travis put a separate link on each one of these. If you can just grab it, send it to your friends, your family, your organizations, all the realtor organizations, all the realtor companies across the United States, send it to your legislators. We're gaining strength by the hour, frankly. And the more people that are involved in this, the stronger we get. And this is not a party issue. This literally affects everybody that owns an asset. And the reality being that as an owner of an asset, as an owner of your home, you should be able to own the land that's under your building. You should not have a gun held to your head, don't pay the taxes, and we'll take the house. And that's where we are.
Well said, Mitch. You guys give him a hand. Let us know in the comment section below what you learned. And I wanted to make a quick announcement. I'm very, very excited. We have another video coming out tomorrow. It's a critical update about what's going on with appraisers. Essentially, right now, appraisers are dealing with agency thuggery and value fraud intimidation. You guys, this is absolutely mind-blowing. Really excited about this one. Again, look out for that tomorrow morning. And other than that, guys, happy Friday. If you're out there investing in real estate, you guys already know we wish you luck and we hope you win.